Good evening, I'm Dike Rostant. Welcome back to the TTT News. We start off looking at relationships. Sustained TNT is an EMA awarded NGO dedicated to education, information exchange, and community building around sustainable living, development, and industry. Green Screen Environmental Film Festival is a product of Sustained TNT. Time for a deep dive into this festival that screens movies about environmental conservation, climate change, green energy, sustainable development, and social justice. We do that with founder/director of the Green Screen Environmental Film Festival, Carver Bacchus. And welcome, Mr. Bacchus. How are you doing?
Good afternoon. I'm quite well, DK. Thank you.
Great to hear, great to hear. Now, the 4th of October would have been a few things. Well, it would have been the budget presentation. It would have also been the
World Architecture Day panel that we would have had, where we would have discussed a little bit about the future of the built environment in the Caribbean and Trinidad and Tobago. Specifically, we want to talk about how we would have spoken about how buildings can impact our health and in particular our mental health. Because at least we believe that in terms of the current dispensation of development, there's not so much a focus on how buildings can really support our lives and support our health and support the things that we want to do with our time. And those things came into sharper focus during the pandemic. So certainly we wanna have a bit of a discussion about that. We wanna explore some of these ideas like permaculture, like the small home movement, and things like that. And so, we hope that people would have enjoyed that panel.
And it's funny because even before the pandemic, I was having a conversation with someone about buildings and what buildings could tell us about ourselves as a society. And it feels now that persons are the objects and buildings are the subjects versus a sort of architecture that would treat the building as the object and the person as the subject. So you're looking to maximize ventilation, light flow, and all these sorts of things, which would have a direct impact on mental health and mental processes as well. But we're not going down that road right now. But if you had your finger on the pulse and on the pockets of some policymakers, what would have been some of those things that you would say, okay, well, these are the things that I'm looking forward to hearing in the budget?
Well, you know that we're in the process of a transition in many ways, okay? The economy is transforming, and we have to pay attention to what's happening globally because Trinidad and Tobago is part of the global picture. So while over the last few years, we understand that the fuel subsidy has been removed, little by little, we would expect that to start to accelerate a little bit. And in the context of that, we certainly want to see, things like a feed-in tariff, A feed-in tariff is basically a situation where, an individual or agency or organization can set up a renewable energy system on their property, and any excess they have, they can basically sell it back to the utility, okay? So this is an opportunity for people to potentially make a little bit of money, to make some cost savings, and it would also hopefully drive the renewable energy sector in terms of development, in terms of installation, in terms of sales, and basically the whole sector. And there's an added benefit to that too. Once you start down this road of managing your energy, once you start down the road of understanding the true cost of energy, then you have to conserve energy, then you have to manage your energy, and that in itself is also a sector that we need to pay attention to. And I'd like to see, in the budget or overall policy, some support for, energy management as an industry, energy management as a sector, where people can support organizations, can support businesses, can support private homeowners to basically manage their energy use, and that's in the context of equipment as well as advisory services.
I like the fact that you speak about policy, because it's one thing to say, okay, well, we're throwing financial resources at a problem, but if you don't have a policy and a general vision, a set of incremental objectives to reach to that destination, it doesn't always make sense. And you're talking about managing energy, might as well burn the money. Sometimes it feels like.
Yeah, it certainly seems that way. But I mean, on top of policy, what you also need is data, you know, and because data drives policy. And I don't necessarily believe that we have the sort of rich and varied data that we need to make some decisions as it relates to, the built environment, as it relates to how we manage our energy, and how much resources we need to put behind managing our energy. Um, so this is this is has been an ongoing topic of discussion in various circles, but I think we've gotten to the point now where we have to, sort of look ourselves in the mirror and understand that no, the energy management sector needs to be facilitated. Um, you know, uh, Companies, factories, and so on need to be doing energy audits on a regular basis to understand where they might be hemorrhaging monies. And this is going to become more potent an idea, the more expensive energy becomes, and energy is only going to shift in that direction. So
And
it's
as
common
we
sense,
try
really.
to and as we try to build these ideas outward, what's the importance of marrying future policy or initiatives to issues raised by the Green Screen Environmental Film Festival?
Well, it's very important. Short answer. Green Screen is focused on the future. Green Screen is focused on ensuring that people understand the issues that we're faced with, issues like climate change, issues like environmental degradation, issues like conservation. It's really important for us to sort of put those things on the table and have people understand what the issues are so that they can ask the right questions of each other, and of people who might sit in a particular place that can actually implement some change. So that's really our focus, sort of information sharing and education as it relates to environment and sustainability. But you know, in terms of what we are also hoping, to come out of the whole examination of the budget and hopefully what would have come out in the budget is, you know, as I said before, energy security, that's a major part of it, but also food security, you know. We have a lot of arable land. We need to rationalize land use more. We need to make farming easier to get into through more access to lands for small farmers who can't afford large investment in land and equipment, because imported food is going to get more and more expensive. Shipping costs have been rising exponentially. I think shipping a shipping container has gone up in terms of cost something ridiculous like 1,000%, in the last year since the pandemic. We need to be able to insulate ourselves from some of these things. And so what I would like to see, coming out in policy, coming out in implementation plans, is ways to include small business owners, individuals who want to do something, who want to contribute, and certainly food security is one of those areas that is very, very, very important for us to be paying attention to now. So we need to be sort of, unchaining people to get into farming and making it a little bit easier. Also, the idea of diversification has been, bandied around significantly over the last few decades. And where we sit, sort of at the junction between, the creative sector and the sustainability sector, we see that the ship is very slow to turn in terms of diversification. Um, but given the opportunities, let's call it that, opportunities in disguise of the pandemic, we see that, there are chances for us to box above our weight a little bit, right? Specifically in the creative and cultural industries, which were hardest hit during the pandemic, first to close and last to reopen. All right. We definitely need more support to digitalize our media sector. We have opportunities in the context of animation, right? which can be somewhat insulated from pandemic surges because of the nature of the production. People don't need to be in the same place to shoot anything. All right. I believe animation is a major opportunity, and we need to expand opportunities for film and animation graduates from UWI and UTT, many of whom are underemployed. So we need some facilitation in that area. Not only that, but creative sector businesses that might not be so quick to sort of get to actually tool up and re-engineer themselves. Perhaps we need some programs to help them do that, right? To help them access larger markets, to help them digitalize their business, technical assistance to get them there.
And this is a point that I want to raise on the second half of the conversation. I promise when we come back from the break, we're going a little more hard and bad into the actual green screen environmental film festival. But one of the reasons I wanted to start like this is because sometimes people see a disconnect, or they don't see how an initiative like this factors into real life, or how it makes sense on a financial and money basis going forward, saying if we don't do this, these are some of the side effects, or these are some of the effects that are going to happen. But stay with us. We are discussing the Green Screen Environmental Film Festival with founder and director of the festival, Carver Bacchus. Stay with us. Welcome back. We are speaking with Carver Bacchus about the Green Screen Environmental Film Festival, the 2021 iteration. Now, we've been kind of talking around, but we haven't addressed it directly. So, give us some information about it, please, Carver.
Okay, so this year's Green Screen Environmental Film Festival, the core of it will take place between October 28th and 31st. We'll have a full slate of films via our website, greenscreen.film. Most of which will be free, some of which will be at a fee. We will have some opportunities that the public can donate to us and to other organizations through watching a film. That's a new program, basically, that we're bringing on stream this year. We'll also have quite a bit of activity via our social media platforms. That's Facebook and YouTube. So we'll have panels starting on the 28th is our opening night, which is the normal format where we premiere our very short shorts mobile film competition finalists. So that will be the world premiere of the finalists on October 28th via Facebook and YouTube. And then from the 29th to the 31st, we'll be hosting a series of panels and discussions via those same channels, Facebook and YouTube, with various experts. We're going to be having a climate change panel focused on youth and focused on discussing how we can distill the ideas associated with climate change adaptation, climate change impacts in such a way that it could be more palatable for younger people and for the general public, because a lot of times, like the IPCC report is very technical, it's a lot of words, it's a lot of numbers, and people don't always go to that source for information. So we're presenting a panel that is going to sort of break down that information a little bit and also discuss the issues raised in the report and explore how, in general, we could communicate climate change issues to the man on the street more effectively. We'll also be hosting a social responsibility panel to discuss, how can people operating in the sustainability sector or in the social impact sector or the social development sector, basically discuss what some of these people are doing and highlight some programs and projects that we believe deserve some attention. And also, we want to explore what impact really means. When we talk about impact with a social project, what does that mean? Does it mean, that you expend X amount of money? Is it measured by budget? Or is it measured in another, perhaps better way in terms of impact? So we're gonna have a couple of really good people on that panel, including Omar Mohammed from the Carver Foundation, who's a steadfast supporter of the festival, and Kiran Mathur Mohammed from Medal, um, which is an organization that was created to digitally deliver pharmaceutical products in Trinidad and Tobago. So, yeah, so we have some really interesting things going on. Of course, also this year, we have more festival prizes than ever before. We have a prize for the best TNT film. We have a prize for the best international film, which we've never had before in the festival. We also have the three very short shorts prizes as well, one of which is the People's Choice, which the public has the chance to vote on their favorite. And of course, the overall jury award, judged by a jury. And this year we have a youth jury, which is specifically looking at films from younger filmmakers. It's the first time we're doing that as well, this particular youth jury effort. So we have young people all below the age of 25 who are going to be looking at films of their peers and deciding who will be the winner.
And with about 3.5 minutes more, Carver, if this were paper, I'll be looking at keywords and like here you say man on the street, layperson, youth, young people. Is there a conscious effort to make this more relatable or to show those lines of connection? Why is that?
Yeah, that's an excellent observation, DK, because you know we understand that the man on the street, some of these issues don't land with the man on the street the way that they might land with me, because this is my everyday sort of work and life, and so I try to understand the issues, and I pay attention, and I read, and I research, but I'm not the average person, and so therefore I'm not the audience we're trying to reach. We're trying to reach somebody who is, concerned with other things, and preoccupied with other things, particularly in the context of the pandemic. So how do we reach those people who need to be reached, right? How do we get the average person who might read the paper or not, who might listen to the radio or not, who might be on social media or not, just the average person, right? So yes, we've been trying to figure out ways, imperfectly still, but we're trying to figure out ways to reach the average person. Additionally, and perhaps more obviously, is the youth. We've always had a youth program centered on bringing the youth to us through discussions at IMAX. We'd have 360 some odd students during green screen at IMAX a day, at least. We might have several screenings a day. And so we had the opportunity to touch and talk and discuss and exchange. But now we don't have that. So we need to bring them to us in a different way. And the youth jury and the youth prizes are part of that.
All right, and I have a minute yet, so for closing arguments and anything that I may not have asked in this very timely initiative during this period where we are looking towards the future and trying to build the bridge from where we are presently to that point.
Yeah, I mean, thanks for the opportunity to speak about the festival. I know that, we try to engage with, the media every year and to get the word out there, and this is a great opportunity to do that. So I hope that people can log on to greenscreen.film, check out all of the film program information, go to our Facebook and Instagram, and you'll see everything there, easiest way.
All right, so we want to thank you so much, Carver Bacchus, for lending your time and effort. Not an average person, but taking us along for the rides, and we're very grateful for that. And on behalf of the entire TTT team, thank you for joining us. This has been In Depth with me, Dike Rostant.